Hello and welcome back to Thirsty Thursday. This is our weekly show in which we go through the headlines of the day and give us find ourselves some perspectives on it and then share it with you, specifically to do with how you can apply it for marketing. So this goes out on Friday mornings as a podcast, and our resident co-host here, Will Lamont, is off taking a much needed break. So I have invited Megan. Megan, say hi.
Hello, hello.
So Megan O'Neill is a core belief engineering practitioner and mindset specialist and a friend of C plus P. She's often the person who sends us some of the cool stories that we talk about here, right, Megan?
I do. I do. I'm a tweet
Right.
head, so yes, I do.
You really are. And just before we started, and we were in the green room, we were talking about how, in Game of Thrones, Varys often talks about his little birds who gather information. I often think he's probably on Twitter. That's what it is.
It's a great reference. I love that. I'm a bird. I'm a bird.
All right, Megan. So let's dive into the stories of the week. We wanted to start off strong with this one. So, for those of you who haven't actually seen the story, Monica Lewinsky is finally getting to tell the story of what happened in that famous instance from her own perspective. It's a new show, American Crime Story Impeachment, and she's announced it this week. So, Megan, I'm interested in your perspectives. Talk to me.
I, okay, so this is age appropriate for me because I'm 52. And this was big in the 90s. And I don't know that I was completely aware of it. I was working a lot during that time period.
Yep.
But I was a Hillary Clinton, fan from the moment that she started. I first saw her in the 60 Minutes interview when she was running, and the famous lights coming down on her, almost killing her,
Right.
and her saying, I'm not just going to sit home and bake cookies, which turned out to be a very controversial thing, but to me
Yep.
didn't seem that controversial. So when I first tuned into the whole Monica thing, I saw her as the other woman. I think I
Mm.
was really typical of that age. She was the other woman. She was a home destroyer. She was, I had all these views of her. So I
So
am
you were Team
so
Hillary at the
pleased.
point. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
was so team Hillary. I was, a Bill hater. I don't know if I've ever recovered from disliking Bill for this particular action,
Hmm.
but I have, in the last couple of years, started following her on Twitter, started becoming aware, reading articles about her, people that I admire, female journalists that I follow and admire, and were the ones who covered the story, have started to, I think, rehab themselves and how they covered it, and
Hmm.
also rehab or try and give her the opportunity to speak in a way that we have never been able to hear her,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, and you know what really stood out in this article that we were showing, I'll put it back up, and for listeners, there'll be a link in the description box. Um, she was 21, Megan, when this whole
yeah.
thing went down. So, talk to us a little bit about the mindset of that. Like a 21-year-old.
A 21-year-old, like when I think about my level of maturity at 21, um, and I was pretty self-assured, I think, more so than Monica was. I think Monica had underlying issues like many 21-year-old girls do. But
Yeah.
regardless of her, imagine, and I think that the word groomed, and for anybody who doesn't know what the word groomed means, it means that people who it's associated with pedophiles, to be honest, and they groom their victims, meaning that
You.
they almost seduce their victims, and they create a level of trust. Well, that's what Bill Clinton did with her. When you look back
Hmm.
retrospectively, and especially because I'm a mother of a daughter now, and I look back and I remember a cop defining grooming for me, a cop who had investigated pedophiles. I mean, it might seem dramatic to say that, but when you think about Bill Clinton, who is known as being the consummate politician, he is the epitome of a politician in the best sense. He can seduce a crowd. He seduced America when he ran. He
Yeah.
can speak in a way to people and connect with people that not many politicians have ever been able to do, let
Right.
alone with this vulnerable 21-year-old from a broken home who didn't have great self-esteem, who was overweight. And I think that that contributed. She talks about that. And certainly that
Mhm.
was a focus in the way that we saw her. So I can't wait to see this. I'm so pleased that, because apparently I have not read her writing, but apparently she is a phenomenal writer as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's really it's time that the story gets told from her perspective, and that 21-year-old thing really stood out for me. My frame of reference in the work sphere includes many 20-year-olds, and just trying to imagine it with that lens on, it's just like, how has this only come up now? Like, how has she only gotten to stand up and speak now, I suppose, is um my predominant thought at
Well, there have been many younger women, I think, than me who have been listening to her and reading what she has written. And she did her famous TED Talks on anti-bullying, which
yeah.
she's known for now. That's her forum. But I think what's really interesting too, that perhaps people don't remember because it was so long ago, it was like almost like what, 25 years ago?
Hmm.
She did not volunteer this information. She was, unbeknownst to her, she was talking to an intimate friend, the terrible, terrible Linda Tripp
Mm.
in Maryland. And in Maryland, you're allowed to audio tape people, to record them without their permission. So she recorded and groomed her as well
Yikes.
to talk about the intimate details about what happened with Bill Clinton. So I think this is going to be shake up a lot of people in the power structure, and I'm once again, it's chipping away at sort of the hierarchy and the sort of obviously the patriarchy that is still in place, and will make them think twice about this type of relationship, right?
It's about time. From there
Mm.
to a much more joyful
Oh,
and powerful story. This
oh
made
God,
me
yeah.
this made me superbly happy. First, let's just absorb that photo that's up on screen for a minute. Um,
Honestly, yeah.
Amanda Gorman has signed a contract with Estee Lauder, and of note in this contract is some of the terms of it, which is that this is no longer one of those contracts which is like you'll do a certain number of ads and you'll do a certain number of photo shoots, that type of beauty endorsement. It's a whole other level, right, Megan?
Yeah, it's completely different than what I think of with Estee Lauder. I mean, as you go scrolling through, you'll see some of the ambassadors that you
Yeah,
have. Here we go: Liz Hurley,
yeah,
Carolyn Murphy, supermodels,
yeah.
and they were pretty one-dimensional. When I looked at, that was how I saw. I didn't for me to look at them in the glossy magazines, and they were obviously beautiful women, but
Hmm.
I did not associate them with anything. Even the breast cancer, I don't even remember it being associated with the breast cancer campaign, to be honest. They were
Yeah.
pretty one-dimensional to me, the old ambassadors. So
So I
this
thought
is
it was
this
really
is
cool.
cool.
This is
Yeah.
how I think, this is how influence will start to be used to make change. And she has this beautiful line that I'm going to try to scroll and find, where it's like, it's not about my face. You get my mind, my spirit, my brain. And I'm loving it that we're in a time in history where that sort of, focus on something has come into the beauty industry. And as like we talked about, like as mums of girls, this is super empowering to watch. What do you think?
Oh my God, I think this is mind blowing. I love it. I think it's complete. Having grown up as a teen in the '80s with the emergence of these supermodels, and then seeing spokeswomen evolve, um, this is a completely different approach to it. I mean, she's also made it. She's also required that they also donate money
Yeah,
to, I think, a
3 million.
literacy program, or
Yeah,
is it a literacy? So I mean,
yeah,
that's completely different.
for women and girls. Yeah. And then here's that sentence I was talking about. I'm never just lending my body or my face. They are getting my spirit, my breath, my brain. That's awesome.
It's a completely different way to for women to be seen.
Yeah.
It's
And
completely different as an ambassador, isn't it?
It really is. And I'm glad that they're leading the way. I'm hoping that comes down into all levels of operations as well, right? Like often people will put a lot of money into making the brand seen in the right light, and then it doesn't necessarily trickle down into the operations. So that's worth watching. From there on to what's happening in the advertising world. It's the big moment for the advertising world. This is when it in the lead up to the Super Bowl. So apparently this year, Megan, Super Bowl ads are selling for 6.5 million, and it's not like it's wanting for takers. Apparently they're nearly sold out.
And they were having trouble last year, weren't they? Weren't they
They
having trouble
were.
selling it? Like, yeah.
I think there was a difference in contract. They probably had sold a bunch which were in the old format, and they were trying to update it in the absence of those big games and things. But yeah, this, I think, to me, it makes me step back for a second and say, what? Really? Like people are actually paying for that? Like those 30-second commercials are still the way in which we judge it? And then you had a perspective as a customer who's in the market for a car, and much of this, many takers for this sort of thing tend to be in the car market, right, Megan? So tell the
Yeah.
audiences what you were talking about in your search for a
Yeah.
car.
So, yeah, because I live in Ottawa and I do not have a good car because I come from Toronto, I did not buy a good car for winter. Okay. So I'm, moving into a new car, looking for a Subaru because, they're good in the winter. That's what they're known for. And I cannot find any that there's no inventory, at least in
Right.
Ottawa, or even searching around. So the demand for cars supply is not there. So I was wondering, reading this, whether
Yeah.
this was to get me all juiced up, get me like, ooh, more, because right now there's no negotiation on the price, the tag price that you see.
Yeah.
You have to take it, and it's up after that.
Yeah. Well, this is people often look at marketing and again think that it's these flashy brand things that are awesome. And yes, they are awesome. You must have them. But that said, when you break it down, it's the end delivery of these things. Did that message you put out work? Did people get what they signed up for, or did it take 6 months of waiting on a list? And then, beyond that, did you service them? Did you keep them? Are you seeing their needs? Are you like, hey, Megan, you moved to Ottawa. Do you need a slightly different car? Like, there's that's the guts of marketing, the unsexy underbelly stuff, like belly fat ads, the
Yeah,
belly fat ads, it's like that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
where you want to
yeah,
go and play.
yeah. Well, and we love those ads.
Mhm.
You know what? I'll admit I'm not a football fan. I have been to football games, but I'm not a big football person.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the ads. The Super Bowl is all about the ads.
That's true. There's no there's no denying that. That's I wait for it. I watch the ads. There's always a Budweiser ad. There's always a car ad, which is absolutely awesome. So yeah, it's not to deny the entertainment value of that, and
Yeah,
the nostalgia value as well, I suppose, because we associate it
yeah,
with a certain process, which I'm sure that our kids have no idea what we're talking about with those like ads and whatever. They're probably watching it on a different device in a different room separately with their friends. So who knows? I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Anyway, from there we hop right on over to Lil Nas X, who's in the news again for continuing to take his story forward from last week. So last week he announced his pregnancy with his album, and he obviously he's a showman, like does this really really well. Again, like prosthetics, the whole nine yards. And then he took it a step further by announcing a baby registry and tagging Obama. So why didn't you tell the people what happened there?
Well, can you just, show the picture of him with yeah, here we go. This is the prosthetic. Go back to that because I just want them to see
Oh,
how
there,
clever that is.
here, look at that.
Okay. So, because we always joke about, because I talk to women who are building their business and help them, we're always talking about birthing your business. And,
Yeah,
and it makes sense to me. I was like, oh, that totally makes sense that he would use that analogy. But then, of course, his registry he matches if people donate to all these to show the different organizations because
yeah.
this is really cool.
This is really really
And
cool. Look
then
here.
there we go. I just want to focus on so he's matched all of them, and some of them are really they are people who are very marginalized. Here
Yeah.
we go.
So there's the
And so I
Trans
just thought it was
Inclusive
brilliant.
Group, the Bail Project, Central Alabama Alliance Resource and Advocacy Center. So it's real, awesome not-for-profit groups and change makers. And then what did he do, Megan?
Okay, and then he tagged Obama to make it seem, because nobody knows whether or not Obama actually sent this gift, this baby gift, which is, I'm sure he didn't, but he tagged Obama, and then people were guessing, is this really true? Is this fake or not?
Yeah,
And of course, Obama is one of the most powerful, influential men in the world, definitely the most powerful African American man. And we were joking about how next to Oprah is basically, Oprah's number one. But she's always going to be. Oh, and if you scroll down to
yeah,
Oprah's face,
yeah.
and so then it goes. Obama when he sees his mentions later. So that was brilliant to tag Obama,
Yeah, I
and
think it's really
also
smart.
to connect it to, it's a win-win, because then he connects it to charitable organization, philanthropic. So he's kind of got like a win-win in his image, right? If you
Yeah,
think about it,
100%.
bringing attention. Yeah, it's brilliant. I
This
love it. It
this
was so out of the
picture
box.
is just so brilliant. It's so smart and so well done. Just having fun with the creation, right? I mean, often people will ask, where are things headed on the marketing front as we go into 2022 and stuff? Well, where are things headed? Like a bit more of this, like a bit more personality, like surprise people, push the boundaries a little bit. Like you thought, I couldn't be pregnant, like, well, watch. And here's a metaphor come to life in quite an amazing way.
Yeah, and we are, and like I was saying to you in the green room, that we are. I am learning so much. I mean, just gender fluidity is something that for me as a 52-year-old, that's a new concept, really. And
Yeah.
I'm just loving how he. I just love this. I just think it's so brilliant. I just
The
think
way
it
in which he's educating and entertaining at the same time is quite beautiful.
it is quite beautiful. I loved it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
works.
Oh, well, from there on to the thing that's on most Canadian parents' minds this
Oh.
week, Megan. Canada goes back to school this week. My daughter started this morning. Where are things at? What are you hearing? This is such a mindset thing, and that's your area of specialty. So talk to us about what's going through people's heads as we navigate this.
That is all. Okay, so I have talked to women all over because I'm on Zoom. That's how I work with my clients. Or I play tennis at the local tennis club against
Hmm.
women, and that's all everybody is talking about. That's all
Mm.
we're talking about. Every single conversation I'm having has to do with the kids. Friends came over, dropped by last night to say hi. That's what we talked about. Kids going back to school. Will they stay in school? Will COVID make us go into lockdown? And I'm reading on Twitter, my little Twittersphere, talking about bets on how long it's going to last. And oh, I can't tell you how how big of a topic that
Yeah,
this subject is,
this
like
really
with
is.
women.
It's all consuming for mums in particular, for parents as a whole as well. And it's that uncertainty of it, right? You just have to make the best decisions you can in the moment, what works for you, and get on with it, I suppose. But here's some of the restrictions of what it is that can and cannot happen by province in here. So, overall, I think after feeling super anxious, Megan, I'm in a place where I'm like, good. Some structure is going to make all of us happy, and it's been a fun time hanging out over the summer. I felt a bit nostalgic yesterday. I'm like, oh my God, it's over. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm living in a colder climate, so I'm a little bit more, anxious about I mean, I love the fall. Everybody loves the fall, the
Yeah,
leaves
for three
changing,
days.
and
Like it lasts for
for
three
three,
days.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's always around Thanksgiving, right? In that,
Yeah,
usually traditionally, there's like those 4 days, but there's not a better time to be a Canadian, I don't think. And nowhere in the world is it more beautiful than here.
agreed. All
Yeah.
right. So quickly before we leave, then Megan, we like to pick a little win story of the week. What of these stories do you think sort of won the headlines for you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Oh my goodness. Oh, I
Let's
gotta
walk it
say,
back. Is it the Amanda Gorman one? Is it
yeah, I'm
the
leaning. Yeah,
is it the Monica Lewinsky one? Is it the Lil Nas X one? I think it's
so
between those three.
well, yeah, I think for sure Amanda. Yeah, I mean, it makes my heart sing to think what she's doing and her confidence. She's
Hmm.
what? How old is she? Like 20 or something? How old is she?
Yeah, I think so. 19, 20, 20, something like that. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. I think I'd have to agree. This is the unanimous vote, folks. It's the Amanda Gorman story. Just how that's going to redefine terms of engagement between brands and their ambassadors. I can't wait.
And her recognizing her power. That's what I was floored by, that
Yeah.
she understood her power and how she could use it. So that to me is the big win.
That's awesome. So that's it, folks. Those are the stories. We always have to leave out a bunch in the interest of brevity, but those are the stories that are really worth paying attention to, with multiple lessons on how we can apply it to the way in which we communicate with the world. So thank you for joining us, Megan.
Thank you for having me.